Oh, welcome back, my friends, to Dynasty Lunch Break. Yes, it is Thursday. This means that we get to get together and have lunch, have some time to just hang out, spend time together. Oh, my hair's a little more messed up than I even realized. Whoops. Sorry, don't mind me. It's with these headphones. That's what happens. Now, you might say, Garrett, you're by yourself. Why are you wearing headphones today? Well, that's because today's a little fantasy therapy session today. That's right. I know some people have been hurting. I know some people have been struggling, and we're going to talk it out here today on the fantasy or dynasty lunch break. Jason saying full PPR, Olave with Rattler at quarterback this week or Jalen Tolbert. I'm still going to go with Olave. We already heard Rattler come out and say that he's wanting to pepper Olave with targets. He knows where his bread is buttered, so he's going to go that direction. Tolbert, it's been a nice little breakout, but I need a little longer till I can trust it. Berserk was good, homie. McBride, this is Gabe saying McBride and an early first, probably 104, 105 for James Cook, half PPR. Wow, McBride and a first for Cook? Oh, yeah, all day. I have those two guys in a very similar spot. And especially long term, I'd want McBride. So if I'm getting an early first with it, all day, that's a great deal, Gabe. Good job. Bravo, my friend. So here's what I'm going to do today. I am copying the show link and I'm putting it right here. So you have the opportunity to come on the show and vent about that team that's just breaking your heart so far. The one that you just can't seem to get over. This is what we get to talk about today. I want to be here for you, talk about your teams, because look, everyone always says, you know what? No one cares about your team. Get better. But you know what? I do care about your team. I've been there. It hurts. Also, it is Dynasty lunch break, which means most of us are having lunch. Now, I usually am bad about getting lunch beforehand. Usually I don't end up eating until after. But today I did get lunch beforehand. Very basic. Like I was a 6-year-old. Peanut butter and jelly. Just peanut butter and jelly. Now, it was on whole wheat instead of white. So as a 6-year-old, I wouldn't have been okay with that. But, maturing a little bit in my old age. But then I was very upset because a friend of mine knows how much I love the Taco Bell and said the double-decker taco is back. And I'd already eaten. Guys, I would have delayed this to go get a double-decker taco. Those were my favorites, especially as a kid. Man. See, Alex knows PB&J is just underrated. Super underrated. Still so good. All right, let's get back to some of these questions. But like I said, I put the link in the comments there. You can literally come on and talk to me, just like a talk radio. Come on the show, talk to me. You don't have to show your camera if you don't want to. But let's talk about your woes. Here we go. The Rick saying, I'm in a Superflex Dynasty League. Tight end premium, 2-point PPR for tight ends. The problem is you can only start one tight end in this start 10 formats. And technically, that one start slot is a flex, so you don't even have to start a tight end, which has created a market dynamic where I have both Bowers and Kincaid, and it's nearly impossible to move Kincaid. I cannot use both. That is tough. Yeah. You give that extra premium, but if you only have one flex spot in the league, I mean, yeah, that's tricky. So for me personally, I am going to probably hold both for the moment. Then I'm just going to wait and see because honestly, in a 2-point tight end premium, both of these guys I think are going to be really good. I get that you can only start one, but I'm going to wait and kind of let everyone else catch up a little bit. And look, even if I have to move the one I like a little bit more in Bowers, then I'm not stuck with two tight ends and I can start other positions. So that's what I would probably end up doing. Alex, would you move a first and second for Drake London? 12 team super flex and it's an acquired first, not competing this year. Yeah, I probably would, assuming it's late. If it is inside the top like 6 or so, I'm probably not doing it. But if we're talking about a pick that's like 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah, I would be willing to do that in order to get Drake London. I like what's happening there. Obviously, Kirk Cousins has become a lot more comfortable in the offense now, so better days are happening. And on top of that, I like Penix long term, so I still think better days, not better days, but good days are ahead. So yeah, I'm absolutely still doing that. Garrett Wilson and a 25 mid first for Rome and Reed. Ooh, that's tough. Rome and Reed are both very good young receivers. But I think right now, Garrett Wilson's being undervalued, and that 25 mid first is probably a quarterback, the second best or third best running back, Luther Burden. Like, I think there's some really good players to be had still there. So I'm sticking with Garrett Wilson in the mid first personally. But man, that's a really, really tough one. Jacob said, for reference, I do have Waddle, Neighbors, JSN, and Wilson. So yeah, so adding extra receivers, 2 of them, isn't really going to help you a ton. Just gives you more depth. So I would rather hold the pick and then be looking for maybe a running back in this draft. We have Jason. Jason, do you think Andrews is cooked, or will I eventually have value? I have Kraft on my taxi squad. Weird rules. So I'm helping to have to drop Minshew to get, or I'm having to drop Minshew to get Kraft into the starting lineup. Do I think he's cooked? As a player, no. I don't think he's any different than what he's always been. Have the priorities shifted in the offense? I think the answer to that question is yes. So for me, I am holding Andrews. I do think better days are ahead, but I think the days of him being a top 3 fantasy tight end are over. Now, that being said, if I'm a contender right now, I'm doing what I have to do to get Kraft in the starting lineup because I can't keep taking L's. But if I'm in rebuild, just let it be. Let Mark Andrews keep giving you bad games. Ryan, this is a good question here. Ramondre or Tank Bigsby rest of season rankings? I still have Ramondre ahead. I think his touches will be more consistent, and I think he will continue to be the lead back in that offense, even after a week where they were like, "Oh yeah, he's not going to be the lead guy anymore. We're gonna have what is his name? Antonio Gibson is going to start, and Ramondre is going to come in as his backup." Well, no, Ramondre still got twice as many carries as Antonio Gibson, so it's still the Ramondre Stevens show, and I don't think anything has changed there. So for me, it's still going to be Ramondre, but that's not taking anything away from Tank. Like, Tank has been fantastic. He was a player I really liked as a rookie, but sometimes some guys burst onto the scene and never look back. Then there's other guys, it takes a little time. He's one of those players that's taken a little bit of time, but now he's here. So I would still go with Ramondre, but that's no slight against Tank at all. Alex says, thanks for answering. Same team, but not competing. What should I do with Jonathan Taylor? Offered him straight up for a bunch of second tier wide receivers and nobody would bite. Should I hold or try to move for less? I have an offer of Brooks and Polk. I don't mind Brooks and Polk. I don't think that's a terrible offer, but I would wait a couple more games for him to come back. Once he comes back, puts up another 18-point game, people will be much more apt to say, okay, he's good. I'll make a move for him. So I think I would probably hold until his value comes back up. Then once it does, then I'm making that kind of move. But for right now, I would just hold him until that time comes. Ryan, another Chubb or McCaffrey rest of season? I guess Chubb, just because I know he is coming back. I really don't know if McCaffrey's coming back. You could tell me he's back week 7. I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. You tell me we don't see him until week 16 in our semifinals. And I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. And if he's coming back that week, I'm not trusting it. I got to see it first. I'm not trusting it. So for me, I got to go Chubb. I know the Browns look rough. I know the line isn't nearly as good as it once was. I underestimated how quickly things would shift from losing Bill Callahan. That shifted so fast. So fast. It's crazy how quickly that shifted. So yeah, I would still go with Nick Chubb, but it's definitely been frustrating. All right. Jason says, loving the content from you and the boys. Just found Dynasty Nerds this offseason. Well, welcome in, my man. Welcome in. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you found us. If are you part of the Nerd Herd yet? Because, dude, being a part of the Nerd Herd is the best. It's very inexpensive for all the stuff that we have. You've got the app, you've got the film room, you've got the extra shows, you got all the good stuff, man. Hopefully you are part of the herd, man, because we'd love to have you. All right, Steven, quarterback start 8. 1 QB, start 8. Trade away. Kraft, JSN, Alec Pierce, 25 first and second for Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Kelce, and Deontay Johnson. I am 1-4 and need to upgrade my flex spots. In a 1 QB start 8, that's such small starting lineups that I don't really care nearly as much about depth. It's about the superstars. If you're starting that few, you need stars. Brian Thomas Jr. has the ability to potentially be a star. Travis Kelce, we know he can be a star at the tight end position. We know it. We've seen it. So for me, if I'm a contender, and this has got to be a contender move, I would take that deal. Then also, I'm guessing this is the same league. Trade away. Oh, yeah. Oh, so now it's gone from, now you're adding another first. It's so far away. It's so far away. Yeah, still give it to me. Still give it to me. Eric, is Burden still the 101 next year, or have we seen enough from Tet or any of the other quarterbacks in this class? Honestly, at this point, even though some of the quarterbacks have looked really good, it's Ashton Genty. Like, he has not fallen off at all from his early season hot start. Dude has over 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns through 5 games. Means he's averaging over 3 touchdowns a game, over 2 yards a game. His line against, I think it's Washington State this week or whoever they're playing. His line for betting is minus 2,200 to score a touchdown, an anytime touchdown. Minus 2,200. And then yards, the over-under is 192.5. Just absurd, like unreal, makes almost no sense at this point, numbers. So for me, it's gotta be him at this point. All right, let's go to the next one here. Jabu. Steven, you're very welcome, my man. Jabu says 12-team Superflex with Mahomes, Stafford, Bijan, Brees, Achane, Wilson, Debo, Moore, and McBride. I'm currently not in a playoff spot. Do I just delete my account? Jabu, that's what we're here for today. This is the therapy session. If you were to look at a team like that to start the year, you would say, hey, that team's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams. Top 2 or 3 teams. Feel real good about it. Bijan, Brees, and Achane. That's an amazing running back room. Got Garrett Wilson, Debo, DJ Moore. McBride should have a good year, right? Mahomes, he's a star. It's been one of those years, my man. It's been one of those years. It can be tough, it can be frustrating. And look, honestly, it's 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 something that we would expect to normalize. We expect Mahomes at some point to be better, but I still don't know that he's going to be top 3 Mahomes that we've seen most of his career because they're just not focusing on passing the ball as much. They're not. Not as important to them. And they're getting it done with guys like Kareem Hunt. So, Jabu, I feel your pain. I've had teams like that. One I'm literally blowing up as we speak. One I'm literally blowing it up as we speak. A 14 teamer, and I still had so many good players. Super deep running back room for a 14 teamer. Really great receivers. Mahomes at quarterback. Won 2 games. And this is against the median. So I'm 2-8. Blew it up. But now I got 5 first round picks, so that's looking good. All right. The Rick, given the Greg Roman dynamic in San Diego, is a tier down from Herbert to Brock Purdy acceptable? How much of a plus? Frankly, I like Purdy more than Herbert at this point. Would Pearsall work? Absolutely. I have them in the exact same tier. Exact same tier. So any plus, worth it. Excuse me. I don't want to be clearing my throat out on the air. That's gross. That's nasty. NJB. Rashee Rice, 1 quarterback, half PPR contender. Need a running back. Any suggestions you target in a straight up trade? Thinking Kyron or Kenneth Walker the third, who are both on non-contending teams. I get it. And on the surface, specifically Kyron, wouldn't have any issue making that deal. The problem for me is I still just have Rice ranked so much higher than those guys that I'd really like to get a little extra. Don't feel like that's quite enough. I get it. I do. I get it. But man, I'd I'd want more. I would. Jordan, star 8 doesn't sound nearly as fun as 10 or 11. I agree. I like the larger starting lineups. But it is what it is. Some leagues it works. Some leagues, these guys they're a little less in the weeds. You might be as one of the members of the league, but the rest of your league, they're chilling. I have a league or two like that where it's just mostly guys that I just enjoy hanging out with. And they are into football when it's football season, but they're not diehards. They're not watching prospects at, 10 o'clock at night. And that's okay. Ryan, would you rather have Ashton Genty to the Chargers or the Cowboys? I think it's more possible he goes to the Chargers. Can the answer to this just be yes? Just yes. And honestly, almost anywhere in the first round, as long as it's not Atlanta, New York, anywhere that has like a guy that he would have to share time with, the answer is yes. I would absolutely love him anywhere almost. Like he does everything so well. He's almost scheme proof. Like I don't have any issues in any type of scheme for him. He even does some little things like he pass protects pretty well. Like, man, he's special. He is something special. Wow. Matt says, GP, are we giving what are we giving up to acquire Nico right now? Are guys like AJ Brown, T. Higgins plus, JSN plus, movable assets even for contenders, especially JSN plus? Honestly, I would give JSN in a first for Nico right now. I would. And I know that seems like a lot. And could JSN eventually be that guy? Sure, he could. I gave him a very good nerd score. But what we see right now is Nico is a true difference maker. And yes, he'll miss a few weeks, but he's a true difference maker at the position. And as a contender, that's what you need. You need difference makers. JSN is not helping you right now win a ship. A first round pick is not helping you win a ship. And if you can just be JSN in a second, then I love it. I love it. But I would be willing to get to the point where I would give a first and JSN to get Nico Collins. The Rick saying Ashton Genty is insane. And the staff isn't even throwing to him, which he's shown is a total blue chip stud pass catching as well. You're right. You're right, Rick. This kid is, I mean, he's fun. He's fun. Oster BS. 1 QB start 8, Mike Evans plus a projected early first, plus T. Higgins, plus Brees for CeeDee Lamb and Bijan Robinson. So Bijan and Brees are somewhat neutral for me. So you can almost just take them out of the equation. Would I give up Mike Evans and projected early first and T. Higgins for CeeDee Lamb? Oof, that's a lot. But it's only start 8. The early first has a little bit less value naturally in 1 QB than it does in Superflex. Oh, man. That's really tough. That is really tough for me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. As long as I don't think it's the 101. I think it really could be the 101. I think Genty's just too good for me to pass up. But I think I would do it. Jason, how many leagues are you in? And how many of those do you actually care about? It's a great question. Now, we're not counting like underdog stuff. We're only counting actual dynasty leagues. I am in, I believe, 19. I believe I am in 19 leagues. It's sad that I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty confident it's 19 leagues. I care about all of them to an extent. Like, I'm not going to join a league if I'm completely disinterested in the format, if I'm because I've left a couple leagues because I don't do IDP, even though I played linebacker in college and I love defensive stuff. Like for fantasy, it's just not enjoyable to me. So I've left a couple leagues that are IDP and things like that. But for me, man, yeah, I care about all of them to an extent. Now, there are definitely some that I care about more than others. Like there's one league in particular. This is my home league, my oldest league. And this is crazy. I have the best record over all time. I don't know if I have the most points. I believe I also have the most points. In 11 years, I've made the playoffs every single year except one. I've been to the ship multiple times. I have never won the title. And of course, all my buddies give me so much crap about this. Garrett, don't you get paid for this stuff? Garrett, don't you do this full time? Yes, I won 4 leagues last year, but I didn't win that one. And until I win that one, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Even right now, I'm probably in the midst of overpaying for Saquon Barkley because I got to win the ship. So when I talk about like, I could lose almost every league as long as I win that one. Like if I didn't win a single ship this year except that one, the year is a total and utter success. If I didn't make the playoffs in any of them, except that one, and I won the ship, it would be worth it. So I care about all of them to a certain level, but there are definitely some that matter a lot more to me than others do. MXSVNN. What do you think about running back prospect out of Arkansas, Jaquindon Jackson? I'll be honest. I know about him. I have seen a few highlights, but that is the extent of my knowledge at this point. So I can't say confidently how I feel about him, but I like what the brief little bit that I've seen. I like. And I'm excited to get into him. But yeah, I have not done enough on him to really have a good feel for him. Tristan, he's in 17, but 3 are redraft. And he asked me how many of mine are C2C. I think only one at this point is a true C2C. I am in 2 other Devy leagues, but I think only one is a true C2C. Tristan and I were in an awesome one together, the program. One of the coolest leagues ever. It just, unfortunately, it got to the point where it just got so complicated and so hard to figure out what you're supposed to do every week that I had to bow out. But the concept is amazing. Joseph, I'm in a super flex tight end premium dynasty league. I'm down Rice and Adams now, and my team is win now. Currently, I have London, Diggs, and Scary Terry. What are some other options you think I should shop for at wide receiver? I think Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. It's trying to get a feel for the price. If you want like a fairly cheap option that keeps getting targets, it'll be tough because you already have London, but I'm looking at Darnell Mooney. He's not going to be expensive. Might be able to get him for like a third, but he would be good during like bye week fill in type stuff. Other buys at wide receiver. I don't know how expensive he is, but with Michael Pittman out, I am a little more interested in, even for a win now team, in Adonai Mitchell, and also in Josh Downs. Like I think one of those 2 guys are really going to step up in that situation. Steven, how do you go about trying to trade picks for a superstar on a rebuilding team who just can't let that star go? It's tough, Steven. And sometimes you can do everything right, everything in your power, offer deals that are so good, and they just don't get it. They just don't. They just won't let that star go. It doesn't make sense, especially if it's an older player. It doesn't make sense. But at some point, you just have to say, I gotta go after somebody else, because I'm gonna get to the point where even if I overpay a little bit, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with doing a slight overpay on trades at times in order to help me win a ship. But I can't just mortgage everything for one guy and drastically overpay. Just can't do it. So sometimes you just kind of have to sit pat, even if it's frustrating. You just got to sit pat. Scott, Superflex tight end, premium start 10. Do I sell Laporta and JSN for Nico if I already have Tank Dell? I don't stress as much about that. If I have 2 guys on the same team and they're both really good, I just have 2 guys on the same team that are really good. The only part that's tough is selling Laporta. I feel like we're selling him pretty low, but still it's Nico. So I think it's worth it. Tom, 1 QB PPR in second place, but feel as if I'm a pretender. I have 225 first and second. Someone's offering me JSN and Akers or Charbonnet for one of my first and Tank Bigsby. If you're in second place, even if you feel like you're a pretender, I mean, I would check kind of where my points are at and use the Dynasty GM to kind of see how you stack up against other teams. But JSN isn't going to help me win much this year. And Akers or Charbonnet? Not really. I would I would rather use the first on somebody that's gonna help me win this year. And honestly, Bixby could end up even helping me win this year, especially if something happens to ETN. His value goes through the roof. Through the roof. So, yeah, I don't think I would do that deal personally. Ryan saying, I am currently 4-1, but I am bottom 3 in points for in my 2 QB league, and I've barely been surviving without Tua as my QB2. Jalen Hurts is my QB1. I've been considering a slight rebuild. I was offered a 25 second rounder and a 27 first for Alvin Kamara. If you're looking to rebuild, I think that's a good move. You're getting a first, even though it's far away. That's probably from a good team. And if they're adding guys like Kamara, we could see the fall off happen by 2027. So that could end up being higher. So I would say I would probably do that deal. Eric behind Genty, who is RB2? I have Judkins and Hampton in a Devy league, so fingers crossed. Well, I have good news for you, my friend. Right now, I have Omari and Hampton as the RB2 in the class, and I have Judkins as the RB4 in the class. So you have two of the top 4 guys in the class, according to my rankings right now. So I think you're sitting in a pretty good spot. I like Hampton a lot. I don't think he's being talked about enough. I'm a big fan of Omari and Hampton. So yeah, I think you're sitting in a very, very good spot. All right. Berserk. I'm currently the 6th seed, but second in points for, and contemplating trading away 25 first and second and Burton for Chase Brown and Brian Robinson. Ooh. If I'm giving my first as a contender, really want a guy that's going to like get me to that next level. Don't know if Chase Brown and Brian Robinson do that. Like I would now, not saying that this guy's available, but I would much rather give my second in Burton and get Joe Mixon. I'd much rather give this same package and get Jonathan Taylor. Just one running back, but I think scoring wise, you're going to be much happier. So I think I would probably not do this move personally. You brought up Shopping Cup. If you're contending in one of my leagues, I'm a fringe contender, but lean towards a small rebuild. I'm considering selling Cup when he returns. What's the max you'd pay? So if I'm selling him, the max I would pay to get, or sorry, if I'm trying to get Cup from you, the max I would pay is probably an early second. I don't think I could dip into that first. Maybe an early second and third. But that's truly the best. An early second and a third round pick is truly the most I could do probably at this point. Oster BS, hey, what do you think of the 25 rookie draft class compared to this year? And at what draft picks would you say the drop-offs are in value? So right now, it's really hard to say exactly where the drop-offs are because it's still fairly early in the season and we don't know landing spot and all things like that. But right now, it looks like Ashton Genty and Tet McMillan are in a tier of their own. Then you have a good like 3 or 4 quarterbacks, Luther Burden and Omari and Hampton. So potentially a teardrop at 3, then another one at like 7, 8, 9 range, where there's a lot of quarterbacks, couple, and maybe even Colston Loveland in that range. So that's kind of where I would see it. But honestly, it's a good running back class. It's an okay receiver class. Top end's pretty good, but it drops off fairly quickly for me. I know some other people are more encouraged by the depth. I'm not quite there yet. And then There's a couple tight ends, but really right now it's just Colston Loveland. So I think it's going to be a very good class. I do. I think it's going to be a very good class up until like the mid seconds. I think you're still going to be having some very good players. Steven, they just don't get it. I'd offer JJ and 2 first for Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he will not let go. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So you just move on and don't overpay. Bijan for Travis Etienne and a mid first. I would take Bijan there. I think that's worth the risk there, especially with Etienne. We don't really know what's going on with him and Tank Bigsby. So I would probably do that deal. Yep, super flex, fringe of contending. So yeah, I think I would do that deal. Give me Bijan Robinson. Tristan says that I just keep forgetting Travis Hunter exists. I don't forget that he exists. I don't. I know that he's there. I don't know. I want to like him more than I do. I liked what I saw on tape when I watched him. I just don't think he's in that same tier right now, but I need to do my deep dives before I can say for sure. The unrefinedness of Hunter drives me a little bonkers sometimes. And I think I like smooth operators. I like guys that do the little things. Like I like that kind of stuff. That stuff matters a lot to me, and he just doesn't at this point. Now his raw ability is 100% there. There's a reason he was such a highly rated prospect. But those little things, they just get under my skin. All right, I'm going to post it in here. We haven't had anyone take me up on it yet. But if there was anybody that wanted to come on the show, like a call-in, and just vent about their fantasy team this season. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to listen. So I'm going to put it in the chat. You don't even have to put your camera on. You could just leave it, with the outline of a person. Oh, all of a sudden, a bunch of questions. Okay. How do you tell league mates they need to do more research on players? I received an offer yesterday that was sending Reed for Wicks in a 27 third. I am not the biggest calculator guy, but I think that's one of those times where it's like, hey, just want to show you this. This is an objective source. And you don't have to take this as gospel truth, but just as like a rough indication, like, here's how far off you are. That's what I would do in those situations where guys are just way off. That's what I would probably do. Oh, here we go. Tristan Cook saying, we just posted a mock draft, Nerds Writers mock draft for the first round of the 2025 class. If you have not seen it yet, I would highly recommend going to see that. Highly recommend it. Alex saying Superflex currently 5-0, but have Nico and Puka out. So do I ride it out until they come back or trade one and try to get points in the lineup? Ooh, depends on what you get. If you can get fair value and you can get somebody that you trust to put in the lineup, then I'm fine with it. But I'm not selling either cheap just for a short-term option. James, injuries have derailed my season. I lost Cup, Nakua, Adams, Ingram, Chubb on pup. Lost season or wait till they return to reevaluate? I would always wait well, you have to be honest with yourself. If they all come back decently soon and they are all mostly what you expect them to be, are you still a top 2 team or not? Because if the answer to that is no, then now's the time that you need to start making moves, because these contenders only have so many first round picks. That's something Rich and I were talking about on the show today, on the Nerd Herd show. We were talking about some trades I just made. I basically gave up, in total, I gave up Tyreek Hill. I gave up Matthew Stafford, Kenneth Walker, Michael Pittman Jr., Terry McLaurin, Cole Kmet. This is in 3 separate deals. Cole Kmet, Zamir White, and Alexander Madison. So 9 players. I gave up 9 players. Some of them are good players, but none of them I would consider top 25, top 30 assets in fantasy right now. I just got back 5 first-round picks, 4 of those in 25. 5 first-round picks, and Isaiah Pacheco, who I can put on the IR. Rich is like, I'm in the same spot. I need to sell, but now all of these contenders just gave up their first-round picks. And now what am I going to go after? Because you already took all the picks. So that's something you have to evaluate too, is you don't want to be late to the game. You want to be able to go out there and get those assets before they all dry up. Can you share your screen when venting? I want to see if I need more to blow up during a rebuild. Yeah, I think so. I think you should be able to. I think we should be able to show your screen. So yeah, if you want to hop on, you can share your screen and we can look at the team. Take a look at it, break it down real quick. See if you should rebuild or not. All right. Yeah. So, but going back to that conversation right before this, I'm not saying that you have to run out and like, oh, get everything done right now. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But you also don't want to be late to the game. So you kind of have to evaluate in your league where that is and when that is. James, I'm on the edge of the playoffs right now. I've also made terrible lineup decisions this year. Probably could have had 1 to 2 more years. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Jason, where do you see Wicks for this year and for the future? I have high hopes, but his hands scare me. He did not get a very good nerd score for me, and that was part of the reason why. Lots of drops. I think he's going to be a lot like MVS. I think he's going to have some monster weeks where you're really excited about him. And then he's going to have a lot of weeks where you're like, oh, that was disappointing. That wasn't what I hoped. So I think that's the hard part. And it's such a crowded room, especially I think right now Jaden Reed really has secured that top spot. So now everyone's kind of fighting for that second spot. And now you insert Kraft, who's been really good at tight end. So for me, he's more of a sell high, honestly, more than anything else. He's more of a sell high. All right, Brendan, if you want to hop in, I'm going to give you another 2 minutes or so to hop in and we can evaluate your team. If not, we're going to round up, finish up. What would be the right word there? End. We'll round up the lunch break here. We'll finish up the show. We'll end the show here around 12:45 or so. Unless my guy Brendan wants to come on, I'd be happy to take a look at the team and do that. Noah said, I never thought I'd be at the point of starting Mooney over Olave and Chase Brown and Rashad White, but here we are. Dude's getting the targets. He's getting the targets. That's the name of the game. If you're getting the targets, we know that translates pretty well. All right, we've got MXSVN. Let's bring him to the stage. What's going on?
How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I've had better days, that's for sure. Better days. I kind of just wanted your input on, I know you've talked about him a little bit, but Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
We had our startup draft this summer, drafted him in the second round because it felt right. He fell pretty far, but it's been pretty upsetting what I've seen out of there, out of the Chargers. And man, I'm just kind of stuck on what do I do with him? Obviously, I feel like I have to hold because he still has that top 10 talent. I feel like he's just stuck in a run-first offense. Do we think that could shift later on, halfway through the season? Obviously, if they get up a couple scores, they're not going to be throwing the ball, and it's going to be ground and pound. But yeah, sure. I just kind of wanted your input there.
Unfortunately, I do think for this year, it is going to be a bit of a lost year for Justin Herbert. Unfortunately, I mean, uber talented, uber
Yeah,
talented. There's no question about that. But especially with the lack of receiving options that he has, I think there's hope for years after this 25, 26. Like, I think better days could easily be ahead. It would not shock me to see them take a receiver in the first 2 days next year. But I do think, unfortunately, for this year, he's going to be stuck in that quarterback 13 to 18 range, and it's not going to be the QB1 that you drafted.
right, right. Yeah, I feel like I'm just a little upset because I was debating on taking Herbert or Murray, and I was just like, man, Herbert's always been that guy, and I still believe he can be that guy, but I guess that just hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah, and I think he can too. And obviously it's frustrating because Kyler Murray's been pretty solid this year. Uh, so it didn't help you with this year, but long term, I mean, Justin Herbert's so young. You're gonna have him for a long time, and he's gonna be very good. But yeah, unfortunately, I think you kind of have to just hold. I think selling him now, you're gonna get pennies on the dollar.
Right.
And then if you tried to rebuy him later, his price would have probably gone up because they did end up getting that other receiver or whatever. Chances are, if you're going to trade him, I'd wait till the offseason. And if they take somebody, then maybe the excitement for him rises, and you can move on to a team that throws a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your input.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up the lunch break for today. Appreciate all of you guys. Really had a great time hanging out. Oh, wait. I told him I'd get him in. Let me get my guy Brendan in here real quickly. Brendan, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good, thanks. I got you in multiple streams. I got to close one. I'm going to hear myself. I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen too. Thanks for taking me. I know you're trying to close this up. I got
Oh, all good.
13
No
minutes
worries.
apparently. So let's see how I can do this. I'm in here now.
I think if you go to
Present. Here we
present
go.
at the bottom.
Yep.
Yep.
Share screen. Let's do it. Chrome tab. Let's go. All right, man. Can you see my screen?
I can. Let me throw it up here. Here we go. I see it.
Right on. All right. So I am the annexation of Puerto Rico.
Nice.
My team was ranked third on the Dynasty Nerds calculator in the beginning
Okay.
of the season. I have so many injuries, and I was like 10,000, 20,000 off from the top guy. I figured let's just blow it up. So I'm
Sure.
going to go to my team is just it's rough. So now at
Okay.
this point, I've been unloading, wheeling and dealing, and I had already gone all in on this season. So I am out of really draft collateral too. So I don't know how the
Okay.
hell I see the draft picks, but I'll bring that up in a second. But out of these guys, and it's funny, the guy before me was just talking about Herbert. Nobody wants him. I've tried to
Yeah.
sell him like crazy, and nobody wants him. At this point, I think I just rebuild with him. I just made a trade and got Bo Nix. Figure he's a low buy, hang on to him. Maybe something happens while I rebuild,
Sure.
kind of player too. So I did that, and then I've traded away. I had Brees Hall. I unloaded
Okay.
him. I got out of Brees Hall. I got Marvin Harrison and 2 firsts. I'm very
Oh,
happy with that,
wow.
but I did have to include Nico though. So my
Okay.
attitude was unload a superstar wide receiver, semi young. It might take me 2 years to get to where I want to be in my mind. So Nico might be 28 at that point. So I
Sure.
figured let's put my eggs in Harrison in a couple of first rounds.
Yeah, I
But
still like that deal.
yeah, out of these guys, who else are you unloading at this point? I figured these guys are young enough to hold on to. Probably Zach Moss would be my next one, but I'm gonna wait till he comes back and has a good game and try to
Y
flip him for like a second.
Yeah, I would have no problem moving Zach Moss. I would also I'm never opposed, even if they're young. I'm never opposed to selling running backs high. So
Hmm.
right now, like if somebody wanted to give the farm for Bigsby and Braylon Allen, like I'm listening to offers.
You're
Somebody
right.
says, "Hey, I'll give you a first for those two guys." Yeah, you can
I
have
got
them.
burned on holding on to Tajay. I had him last year. I had some
Mm.
really good offers come my way, and I ignored them.
To be fair, I did too. I really thought that they were going to go ahead and make him the featured guy, and they bring in somebody else to complement him. but unfortunately, he's become the complement to Tony Pollard. So I'm
Yeah,
with you. I ended up being in the same boat.
it totally burned me.
Yeah,
So, and then out of these quarterbacks, I mean, I'm just grabbing everybody I can with my fab money. Then I figure
sure.
why not just pull them in, and then if somebody needs a quarterback, unload them, and for anything at this point.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Do you see anything else? So I'll work on getting these two traded away. I don't care. I might hold on to Braylon because he's only 20. Tank
sure.
Bigsby, what is he? 23, 24, something like that. So,
Something like that. I think he's
and with no
23.
cartilage, I think he has no cartilage in his legs too. So he's only got a couple years, right? Wasn't that him or was that Tajay? One of them
I
has.
think that's Spears. I
Yeah.
think that's Spears.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, do you see anything else that I should be? I mean, this one I've put him out there, and the only people that are making offers are the contenders, and their picks are pretty late. So
Sure.
I don't see the value I'm getting back, and he's going to be good in 2 years as well.
Yeah, and it would have to be something where, kind of like what you did with Marvin Harrison. Like I'm getting picks and a young player, because then I'm willing to take on the later picks if I'm getting a young player that I feel really confident in. Um, maybe it's the kind of thing where if you wanted to go try to pair up him with a quarterback and get a top tier guy or something,
Hmm.
you could look at some different options potentially. I'd also be open, like if somebody was desperate at tight end, like maybe I could give them Zach Ertz for a third, Cole Kmet for a
Yeah,
second.
I'll get anything for them. Nobody wants them as well. I've been pretty active trying to
Okay,
sell them. I've
sure.
the big ones that I have too. Are we finally give it? I can't stand this guy. He's killing me. Tony's been killing me for years now.
Yeah, he's gonna
So is
die on
it
your
time to
bench.
release him or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would just cut him at this point. I don't.
Yep, that's
If he
my
does
thought as well.
anything, it'll be for a week on a
Hmm.
random roster, and yeah, I have no problem cutting him at this point.
Yep, and Burks, he's on my taxi squad too. I don't know why I even have him. He's another one that is wonderful to hold on to remind me of past mistakes. So,
We all have him, man. I was
yep,
really high on JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and he's not even in the league
I'm
anymore.
from
So I get
Philadelphia,
it.
so I know him very well. So,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
well aware
I
of him.
get it.
All right, well, thanks for the time, man. I'll stop sharing and appreciate having me on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for hanging out. I had a great time talking with you guys, looking at rosters, answering questions, helping commiserate with those that are hurting. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you next Thursday.